all the people of Ukraine to know as well. The American people have been with you every step of the way, and we will stay with you. We will stay with you for as long as it takes.
Kiev's counteroffensive isn't going well. Russia has been saying this for months, and now even Western media is admitting it, as the bodies of dead Ukrainian soldiers continue to pile up.
At cemeteries all across Ukraine, the military dead just keep coming. Here in Lviv, near the border with Poland, very far from the fighting on the Eastern Front, the fresh graves of soldiers number in their hundreds. There are so many, in fact, at this cemetery that up the hill here, they're clearing the way of the fallen from previous wars to make room for those lost in this conflict.
According to the Guardian newspaper from Britain, it is clear now that there will be no sweeping gains from Ukraine's counteroffensive. While it has not failed, it has in no way resembled the kind of swashbuckling victory hoped for by optimists. This should be no great surprise. It was always going to be a slog, a series of bite and hold operations, more First World War Western Front than some latter-day blitzkrieg. Western officials now fairly bluntly state that there will be no breakthrough of well-dug-in Russian lines anytime soon.
Was this is going to take 6, 8, 10 weeks. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very long, and it's going to be very, very bloody.
The Ukrainians are also facing a developing threat in the east as the Russians advance in the direction of Kupyansk, a situation described as complicated.
Active fighting continues on the Kupyansk front. The situation is stable. The fighting has moved into the positional phase. The Ukrainian armed forces transferred reinforcements to Kupyansk and Zaporyzhia, including forces of the 25th Brigade. In Zaporyzhia, the losses of the 67th Brigade are being replenished by 600 prisoners, who are also being actively used in Ukraine. In addition, total mobilization has begun as of today, with plans to draft and send up to 3 million Ukrainians to the front. The losses of the Ukrainian side, according to our closed reports, are currently estimated at around 400,000 people. These are both killed and wounded.
Time is beginning to press. President Biden's regular promise to support Ukraine for as long as it takes sounds good, save that we have little clear idea of what the "it" really means. Ukrainians may be forgiven for believing that it means until we have achieved our war aims, which are very clearly set out in Volodymyr Zelensky's 10-point peace plan. This, among other objectives, posits the recovery of all Ukraine's legal territory, including Crimea, named by Ukraine's overall military commander as its center of gravity and main objective. Due to the risk of Russian nuclear escalation, there is very little, if any, appetite in senior US government circles for assisting Ukraine to retake Crimea. Biden's "it" does not seem to include Ukraine's primary war aim. According to retired US Colonel Daniel Davis, earlier this year in May, the Czech President Petr Pavel ominously warned that it would be extremely harmful to Ukraine if this counteroffensive fails, because they will not have another chance, at least not this year. Similarly, a leaked classified report cautioned that US intelligence officials believed the Ukrainian offensive may only produce, and I quote, modest territorial gains. Nearly 3 months after the offensive has begun, those concerns are borne out. On the Velika, Novosilka and Orikhiv fronts, Ukrainian troops managed to push about 10 kilometers, while in the Kupyansk and Bakhmut fronts, barely 4 kilometers have been gained. Yet, the cost to Ukraine in men and material has been exorbitant. The New York Times reported that a full fifth of the offensive strike force had been damaged or destroyed in just the first 2 weeks. Ukraine and senior Western officials claim that the capture of Robotyne, which is still in the gray zone, represents a puncture in the first major line of Russian defense, implying that now battles will get easier and progress faster.
Oh, no. 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 No, 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 no. I do something.
But Ukraine faces significant hurdles to push any further. First, it is not enough to break through a line of defense and push deeper into enemy lines. Every kilometer of territory captured must be garrisoned and held against expected enemy attacks from the flanks. Second, some Ukrainian advocates seem to believe that the Russian side is a static entity, so that each meter of land the UAF recovers is a deepening wound on the enemy. The truth, however, is that Russia is constantly adjusting to new and emerging battlefield realities. The Russian High Command likely observed that 3 of the 4 axes of attack have largely failed and have been reinforcing the subsequent layers of defense ahead of Robotyne. Thus, the farther Ukraine penetrates in this area, the more difficult and costly will be additional progress. Given the failure of the Ukraine's offensive to achieve decisive results, both The Guardian and retired Colonel Daniel Davis opines that the Biden administration should devise new plans based on the battlefield realities and come up with a plan that protects America's security interests and economic prosperity. Blindly supporting Ukraine for as long as it takes was never a strategy and is now appearing less sustainable than ever.
The Russians have now become much, much better than they were a year and a half ago. I think they're probably the best army in the world at this point. They're very competent, very well organized. They're now able to mine behind advancing Ukrainian troops by air delivery of mines from helicopters, from artillery. This thing has gone very badly for the Ukrainians.